Hi, welcome. Here we are going to understand what is the exact usage of Xbar R chart. So this is a chart which actually creates two different charts, which is Xbar and the R chart. R is nothing but range and X is the average. So R represents it tells you the consistency of each samples or observations. Each samples, and XBAR represents the consistency. It tells you the consistency between the samples. So we will try to understand what is actually I meant. So for the definitions, you can very well you can just look into the different websites and you can understand what is the definition, how it is calculated. So the purpose of this video is to understand how and when we are going to use this Xbar R chart. Okay, so for this case, I'm just going to take an assumption that there is a company which is running their business in 5 different countries. Okay, and let's say the 5 countries are India, USA, UK, Russia, and Japan. So these are the 5 countries. Just assume that that company is running their business, and the CEO wants to understand. The CEO of the company, the chairman, wants to understand. Wants to have a question, or of the first question is he wants to know how consistent we are in each countries in terms of utilization, that is the resource utilization. He wants to understand out of 100 people in his company, in a country, out of 100 people, how many people are utilized with effective work, or how many of actually the people are working. So he wants to understand the utilization, and this is the first question he is having. And the second question is how each country is performing together, or how do you actually compare the performance between each countries. So he wants to understand both of these queries, and he wants to understand the performance of that. So for these kind of 2 different questions, the first question, it only talks about one country. So he wants to know how utilization is happening in Japan. By the second question, he is asking how Japan is comparatively working against Russia, UK, USA, and India. So he wants to understand the comparison as well, utilization, in terms of utilization. So how it is achieved, and that's where we have to get into this Xbar R chart. So let's get into the further data. So for this, let us assume that out of 100 people, we validated that out of 100 people in India in the first quarter, this is Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. So in the first quarter in India, we found that out of 100 people, there is 100% utilization of the resources. Okay, so utilization is the question. So the first quarter, India has utilized 100%, and the next quarters, I'm just giving a random numbers for this demo purpose. So I'm saying that the rest of the 3 quarters we just could utilize only 99%. One people didn't had much work. So that's what we are saying here. And for USA, let's say the first quarter is 99 and the rest of the quarter is 98. And for UK, let's say that 98, 97, 97, 97. And for Russia, just give the number 99, 98, 98, 98, and then Japan, give 100, 99, 98, 99. So let us assume that these are the data that we have collected out of 100. So we took 100 people and we validated this. This is just a percentage of resource utilization. So by this data, by just looking at the data itself, you can understand that all the countries are consistent in terms of utilization. So this is what the Xbar R chart is going to say. The Xbar R chart gives you two charts. The first one is R chart, and then it gives you the Xbar chart. So this R chart will tell you how is the consistency of each country, that is each sample. And XBAR chart will tell you the second question of the CEO, that is how together, that is between, when compared to India, how USA is performing, when compared to India, how UK is performing, what is the consistency, is there anything certain countries are not performing so well, even though individually it looks so good. So that information we will get from the XBAR R chart. So we will actually go through further to understand how it is actually calculated. Now the first one that we have to understand is the range. Range is nothing but R. So range is nothing but the maximum of these samples minus the minimum of the samples. And just forgot to tell you, each sample in this particular example, we have 4 sample size. Okay, so we have 4 observations here. Observation is nothing but sample size. And to further understand, so whenever the sample size we have is between 2 to 10, we can use Xbar R chart. For this case, we have 4 observations. So that's why we are using this Xbar R chart. And if it is greater than 10, we can use Xbar S chart. S represents standard deviation. So this is just for your information. So the more the samples, the more the accurate result we will get. Okay, so for this we got the range, and I'm going to drag and drop for the rest of the countries. Okay, so this is the range, and now I'm going to find out the R chart, Xbar R chart. So we have 2 charts, one is Xbar chart and R chart. So these charts are calculated by finding the central line, upper control limit and lower control limit. And for your information, I'm just doing every calculations in Excel, and there are tools like softwares like minitab and qmacros. It's an add-on tool in Excel where it just automatically calculates all these fields by itself. So you can use that, and this is just for your understanding. I'm just calculating everything manually. So let us try to find what is the central line. Central line is nothing but the central line for the range chart is nothing but the average of the ranges. that we calculated for each samples. So average of this is a central line. So I'm just going to use the same formula. It is just for the chart, creating the chart. I have to create a chart in the Excel, so that's why I'm just using the same data here. So because there's only one data for that. And upper control limit has a calculation. So here we can see that there is a control chart constants. This is a defined control constants for each sample size. So as you know that the sample size up to 2 to 10, we have to use Xbar R chart, and this is a constant that we are going to use to calculate the upper control limit and lower control limit for Xbar, the R chart, and also the Xbar R chart. Okay, so for that we have a formula. So we will go to the UCL, and there is it's a very simple formula. It's a central line into the constant. Okay, so it's a constant based on the number of samples. So 1.2 into, so we see that we have 4 samples here. So we just have to go to the control constants, and we have a 4 sample size, and the calculation is 2.282 into 1.2. So this is a calculation. And for LCL, we go for the 4th sample and we use the column D3. Okay, so the central line into, you can use VLOOKUP to validate that. So VLOOKUP the sample size 4 in this sheet in the 4th column. So that will give 2.282. So 2.282 into the central line value. So this is the value we have. So we can use the same formula. So the whatever that I am doing here, it is just for creating a chart. So I'm just using the formula here, and for LCL it is nothing but the central line into VLOOKUP the sample 4 in the constant in D3 column. So it is actually empty, so it should be 0 into the central line should be 0. So we can use the same here. Okay, so now we have the R chart. Okay, so let us try to create a chart now for the Xbar R chart. We have 2 charts, and now we can with this data itself we can find out how the R chart looks like. Okay, so now just use the range which we have calculated along with the central line UCL and LCL. Just select all the data and go to insert and use the line chart. The 2D line chart is enough. Yeah, so now we see that this is the R chart. Which tells the utilization of each country. The first question from the CEO is answered here. So we see that this is a UCL, and this is the LCL, and this is the center line, and this is how the performance looks like by each country. So when I look at this data, okay, the line is actually under the control of UCL and LCL. It is not going beyond that. Okay, I don't see anything that is going beyond the upper limit or the lower limit. That is called outliers. So I don't see any issues here. So it looks like everything in control. So by just looking at this data, I can clearly say that each country is showing a very good consistency in terms of utilization. It doesn't mean that everyone is performing so good, but I can at least say that they are consistent in their performance. And mostly I can say that I can say that the consistency of the first 4 countries looks so good, except Japan. It doesn't mean that Japan is doing bad, but because when I talk about utilization here, utilization is so good, still under the control. So it is actually looks so good now. Consistency, it's somewhere it's fluctuating here, but in terms of other countries, the consistency is so good. So by just looking at the data itself, we can understand that it's 100 and there is 3 consistency here. So all the countries have a 3 consistency here, and here when I look at this, there is only 2 consistency, 99, 99, and there is a 98 and 100. So there is a small fluctuation in Japan. Okay, so in terms of consistency, it looks like each country is doing good. So now comes the other question from the CEO, that how actually the country is performing with each other, compared to each other. Because sometimes when you look at the 100, it looks like they have a very good utilization. So there are 98 as well. So it doesn't mean that by just looking at this data, UK performance when compared to other countries looks not so good. So that is a question that comes from the CEO. So these are the questions compared to 2 different samples can be identified with the Xbar R chart. Okay, so here we just like the range, we are going to find the average of the observations, that is a sample size. So earlier we find out the range, and here we are going to understand the average of the 4 samples of sample sizes, and we are doing that for the other samples as well. So we got the calculations here. So now for the XBAR chart also, we are going to find what is the center line, upper limit, lower limit, and center line is nothing but it's an average of the XBAR data. So average of this is 98.4. So I'm just going to use the same here for the purpose of creating a chart. And now we are going to find out the formula for upper control limit. Upper control limit uses the formula. So uses the formula center line plus the center line of the R chart multiple by the constant. So the formula is V look up, the sample size we have is 4, look for the 4, and here for the XBAR R chart we use the constant from the A2 column. So here for the sample size 4 we will get 0.729. So this is the value we have. Okay, and LCL is nothing but the same calculation but on the negative side. So minus will give you the LCL. So let's use the same formula. Okay, so now we have the XBAR R chart as well. So we have all the data now, and now we are good to create the XBAR R chart. Okay, so now just drag and drag the data, and similar to what we have done, just go to insert column and create a line chart. Okay, so note that this is the XBAR chart in terms of utilization. So here XBAR chart is going to say how each country is performing compared to each other. That is called subgroups. Samples are otherwise called sometimes you will see that they are using the term subgroup. So how it is performing. So when you look at this chart, now you will be surprised to see that even though the consistency is there and all the countries are well within the upper limit and the lower limit, but the XBAR says that the first country looks so good, okay, it's under the upper limit. Second is also good, it's under the limit, it's actually in the central line. Yeah, see here, this is a point. And the third country, that is UK, it's falls below the LCL. That means even though the country looks consistent individually, by just comparing with other countries, we found that the utilization of UK seems to be bad when compared to other countries. So this is a very good information for the top management to understand how each country is performing. So the focus area of utilization can be given to UK for the next quarters or the next financial year, because utilization looks so bad. So when you look at the a few data, it looks easy to validate. But just imagine if the data is so big, so fluctuating. So by this information, even though individually, if UK says that our utilization is so good and consistent, but the CEO can understand that compared to other countries, utilization is so bad, and it's in the lower corner. At least if it goes in the upper limit in terms of utilization, it looks like utilization is so good compared to others. Maybe they can catch up and they can change this upper control limit and lower control limit and make this line within this control. But here it looks a concern where this UK utilization is so bad, 97.25, but we expect at least 97.5. So hope you understand that how this XBAR R chart helps a company to understand how it is performing individually, how together compared to each other, how it is performing. So in this way, this is just an example, and you can take this thought and take it forward and implement in your projects. For example, if you're working in an account which have multiple projects, you can take samples as different projects, and you can take one of the metrics and you can understand how each project is actually working on each quarter or by month or by days, by week, how it is performing, and compared to that project how the other project is working, and which is actually doing better. So these kind of mapping and comparisons can be effectively shown by the simple chart. By just looking at this chart, the top management can easily understand how it is performing. So I hope that this video helps you to understand the purpose of this XBAR R chart. And for your information, if the sample size is beyond 10, it's the range, using the range is not a good idea. It's always better to use a standard deviation. So that's why when the sample size goes beyond the 10, we recommend to use XBAR S chart, which is S nothing but standard deviation. Thank you for watching.